This podcast is being brought to you by WXAV 88.3 FM and WXAV.com. WXAV, bringing the best podcasts to you.
What would you say is your favorite part about being in a metal band?
I don't know. I've always loved heavy metal, so it's my favorite type of music. So to get to play your favorite type of music, I guess, and still continuously into my late 50s playing that. So I'm very fortunate. Love to play metal.
Growing up and everything, I'm sure it was a lot different with the scene and everything. So how would you say it was like growing up?
Well, it was different because everybody did tape trading back in the 80s, mid 80s, early to mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was no internet, there was no computers, so nobody could do that. So basically, you had to know people and be a part of something and show up every weekend or every week and see each other. And that's how the scene was created, by a scene, because there was actually a scene of people there, you know.
Right, absolutely.
Look at the scene, you know. So it's changed so much since then because the internet's changed all that. The clubs are not the same. But I think that that's what made the staple of and the foundation for what we built back then and what we still do now.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is how do you feel about labels? Because I know, like, obviously Exodus is typically labeled as, like, a thrash band and everything. But how do you feel about, like, labeling in music? I know, like, a lot of musicians feel, like, very differently on this topic, so I was curious.
Its subgenres were thrash metal. We've always been thrash metal. It's a subgenre of heavy metal, like death metal is, like hair metal is, like, you know, industrial metal is, like anything else. It's got a subgenre to it. So rockabilly and you know, there's all kinds of different subgenres of rock and roll. So it's just another. I'm fine with it. We know we are. We're a thrash band. We've always been a thrash band, and we'll always be a thrash band.
Right. No, that's cool. That's cool. Because I know a lot of people feel really differently about labels. So I always like to ask, like, hey, like, what's your opinion on it? You guys have been in the business for quite a while. How would you say that your music has evolved over the years, especially like the stuff you're releasing now compared to stuff you might have been releasing years ago?
The musicianship is a million times better. Mm-hmm. I think the writing is a million times better. And I think as we're getting older, which doesn't usually go for any other type of genre of music but metal, as our music's getting way more violent and way more brutal than it used to be. I'm just being honest with you. To me, Persona non grata is the most brutal yet.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with that. I'd have to agree from all the stuff I've heard from you guys that it got more intense, if that's a good term for it.
Definitely. Good word for it. Definitely got more intense.
So another question kind of in the same ballpark. How do you think that the music industry has evolved over the years?
Evolve or devolved? The de-evolution of it? We're very lucky to have a good label like Nuclear Blast that gets what we do and gets what they do, what every band does on their label. Mm-hmm. They know how to do it, and working with us together, because we had been around for so many years, going from label to label that just really didn't know, from Torrid to Combat to Capital, you know, Capital to Nowhere. The Nuclear Blast has been our label since 2002. So once you got a good fit and they know what you're doing, it works out that way. We're fortunate. No,
that's good. It's always good to have a steady ebb and flow of things.
Business, I mean, it's changed. It's like, you know, the labels don't put near of the bands because they're not selling records anymore. Mm-hmm. The whole idea when you put a band on tour was to get them to go see them live, and then the next day, man, they were so great the night, you're going to go run out to the record store and buy that album.
Right.
Well, you don't do that anymore. You know, you just pull out your phone, and some moron was out there with the phone up. You could see the song live right there. There was never that mystique when I was a kid.
Right.
You went and saw, went to a Day on the Green, or you went and saw AC/DC in 78 or 79. You went and bought the record the next day, or you bought the album the day before and went and saw the band because of the album. You know, it was all about the album was the catalyst. You know, all the album does now is gives you something to go tour on. But, you know, after the record gets released, everybody and their mother will pirate it and do what they can on it. There was never the case before.
Right.
Before you had to see. When the Ramones came around on tour when I was a kid, you had to go see the Ramones. There was no other way you could see them. You know, there was no video cameras in the crowd. There was no way. You had to go to the show. That was the way. That's how I liked that.
Right.
That way still.
Yeah, so wouldn't you say that compared to how it is now versus how it was then and everything, especially with the effects of COVID and the pandemic on the scene and everything, wouldn't you say that it almost did a complete kind of 180?
Kinda. There's just, it seems like there's always a new challenge.
Mm-hmm.
There's always, okay, now this. I remember when concerts were $8 and $12,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then now what they are is because the musicians had to learn how to make money because they're not selling records anymore. Nobody is. Not from our genre, not in hard rock, not in any of that.
Right.
I mean, look, the new Iron Maiden album will probably sell anywhere from 60 to 100,000 copies. But then they'll go around the world and they'll sell out every stadium in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? No merchandise in that. So basically the catalyst is, it's just because it's not that you need to buy, not saying that people won't listen to it. They'll find other forums to listen to it than just buying that, when before they had to buy it. You know what I mean? And I just think that's the sad part about it. And no doubt, and again, that's no disrespect, nothing but respect to Iron Maiden. The show, look, we may only sell actually physically 100,000 copies, but we'll do 55,000 in one place. You know what I mean? One night. What does that tell you right there?
No, absolutely.
There's Spotify and there's this and this guy and that guy. There's a million ways to listen to it. So it's not it's not like it used to be. The only way to listen to it was to go to fucking Tower Records or Galaxy Records or the Record Factory and go pick it up the day it came out. You know what I mean? That was the only way to get it before. Now it's different.
No, absolutely. It's everything's different,
Medium changed.
Yep. So how would you say social media impacted, or the introduction of social media impacted the music industry?
It made it more accessible for people to get to their favorite bands. Definitely, there's a plus and minus to it. You know what I mean? But then again, it took the mystique away from it. I think, you know what I mean. It took what was really going on behind the scenes. But that's with everything. I mean, before I would be like, you were at a concert, man, and you saw I don't know, Angus walking off a bus, one of the guys in Aerosmith, he looked over and he waved at you. You'd be so pleased because it's such a rare thing. Now, people film themselves and put it on their own Instagrams of them doing shit like that. There's no validity to it anymore. It's not special. You know what I mean? It's not like, wow, this is, how cool was that? I got to check this out. And it's, and this was so cool. And man, I took an exclusive picture or whatever. Now it's like there's a camera on everybody's telephone. That wasn't the case when there wasn't a camera everywhere. You either brought a nice Instamatic with you with the little cubes that went off thing live, or you were one of those nerds. I mean, honestly, people bring them. They didn't. But now everybody's phone has a camera. So what's the greatest memory to get with anyone? Is it a photo? So, or a video. And so there you go, so, and it puts it in your hands. So the mystique is gone as far as.
No, I absolutely agree. I would definitely, I'd even go as far as to say that sometimes people's entire concert experiences could be, or they almost determine it on oh, did I get a good picture, instead of was it a good show? Did I live in the moment? Did I have a good time? It's oh, did I get any good pictures from it? What can I post from this?
Pictures themselves with the band behind them, look where I'm at. I'm at this key. It's like, oh my God, watch the show, phone down. It's just
right.
But we don't get a lot of that because when we go to play, there's a mosh pit and there's people going crazy.
Yeah.
There's a good chance it'll get knocked out of your hand. I mean, it happens, but in our genre of metal, it's very there's not 40 people in the front holding the camera because there won't be able to. So, which is kind of works in our favor.
No, absolutely. So would you say that would be one of the cooler parts about being in a metal band, is that when you do go to your shows, there always is that energy there, no matter, what's going on. There's always an energy that's unlike shows in any other genre.
For the 36 years that I've been doing this, I've always said that thrash metal is the best genre of music because the crowd is just as much a part of the show as the band is.
Mm-hmm.
Has been.
No,
Think about it, looking at it and going, Jesus Christ, look at these maniacs killing each other. This weekend we played at full Terror Assault. I don't know if you saw it. We had a golf cart mosh pit.
No, I didn't hear about that. How did that happen?
Right now, we have a golf cart mosh pit during Toxic Waltz. The visual is absolutely maniacal.
That's awesome. That is really cool. Not many bands I feel like can say that they've had that happen there at one of their shows.
Nobody's ever had a golf cart mosh pit. It's the first.
That's really cool. So what would you say was one of your most memorable shows that you performed at?
Most memorable, Dynamo in '88 was the first time I'd ever walked out and there was 30,000 people in front of me ever. So you got to remember, I joined Exodus in '86. Mm-hmm. We'd always big crowds, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. But that one always sticks out in my head. And then since then, I've headlined in front of 110,000 before. So I've been very fortunate to play in front of big crowds and memorable crowds all over the world. All the Exodus fans are great all over the world. They're very loyal, and they always bring it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely feel like metal fans in general are it's a much more loyal fan base too, because it's the kind of appeal to metal is that it is different. It's something that you don't get to, it's not. Every band is totally different, and every band has a different experience, and so I think fans like to be loyal to their band that they relate to.
Agree.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have one last quick question for you.
Sure.
What does college radio mean to you?
College radio is what keeps, basically for metal, it's how people get to listen to the music, because without college radio, and this has been since the 80s, this and punk genre of music would not get heard by anybody. So that's what college radio means.
No, I absolutely agree with you. That's, it's hard to get exposure to new stuff nowadays, and it's hard to, or it's overexposure. You get exposed to so many bands in a genre, or there's so much coming at you that I feel like sometimes you can get overwhelmed, but, you hear the song on the radio at the right time, and it's like, oh, that was really cool. I might check them out,
Right, exactly.
Or like you were saying earlier with the shows, you go to a show and, you hear a band that, was maybe opening for another band, and you're like, they're really cool. I want to check them out next too, so.
What's great about metal is you can I've been doing that since I got into metal. There's always a new band that goes, whoa, you heard these guys? They're pretty cool. So that's just, that's the great thing about metal. Always something.
Always something new, always something going on. Well, Absolutely. We will be sure to check out more of the new Exodus music coming out. And absolutely appreciate you calling in and doing this interview with me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Holly. Be good, and we'll see you soon, okay?
You too. See you soon.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you very much for listening to this WXAV 88.3 FM podcast. Be sure to visit our website, wxav.com, for more information on your escape from ordinary radio.